Thank you, everyone, for joining in. It's a good day today. I was sharing with Annie earlier that we had a tragedy here on our res here, and I was blessedly asked to be of support to the families and the parents, and I say blessedly because that's one of the things I love about our communities is when times of tragedy come, we run toward each other and not away from each other. And that's what's a unique thing about res communities. We're not a city. We're not like Sioux Falls or Rapid or Buffalo here. We are a community of people that have come together, been together through thick and thin. And when something like this happens, it's important that we connect and lift each other. As I've said before, we suffer in silos, but we heal in community. And today was a good example for that. So even though it was a hard day, to sit back at the end of the day here in New York and kind of look at, maybe like you guys do, I look at the day to be of use. That's really the bottom line in any kind of life is how was I of use and how did I connect? And today was a blessing in that way, a hard blessing, but it was a blessing. And then to get to have this conversation with you guys, as Annie and I have been speaking about the classes, how I envisioned it, and maybe what happened in the future, depending on how our conversations continue, Annie, is we want to create tentacles that reach out into the community. You learn this information, you share this information, we train you in this information at a deeper level. You can train others at a deeper level. Pretty soon we have so many arms going out to the community to help and create healing. That's the whole goal of the whole thing, and that's really what I want for us. So as we've been diving in, the arc of our time together was, let's just take care of ourselves first. That was the COVID talk, and then we wanted to know about what that can turn to, stressors and traumas, and what that looks like with addictions and disease and learning problems, and looking at what it looks like in the physiology of it, and how can we start turning that tide around. And we're getting close to having a lot of those conversations now, which is going to be great. And we're in the middle of one now. If you remember, last time we started talking about the vagus nerve. Do you remember that? Just a quick brief of last time, and then we're going to jump forward to the tools to help the vagus nerve. If you remember, it's long meandering. One of the 12 cranial nerves is a long meandering. One goes here, then goes through every major organ in the body and ends in the pit of the stomach and takes the information from the body and then gives it to the brain and says, here's what I got going on down here. And how do you want to label this? So this information goes up, and remember, we talked about the thalamus, which is the gatekeeper. And the gatekeeper either sends it to the logic center of the brain, or it sends it to the smoke alarm of the brain. Those Bessel-van-der-Kolk's words. And so we got to take this information that we're getting and turn it. So being careful to label it something that is going to put us in overwhelm. So if my heart's beating fast, I'm breathing shallow, I'm hot, let's wait to label that anxiety. Let's wait to label that frustration. Let's wait, because it's just information that the vagus nerve is giving. And as I shared with you before several times, that I work with folks that they call their alcoholism, they call their anxiety, let me pause for a second. Let's go one step further back. They call this information where their heart is beating fast, that they're tight, they're jittery. They've labeled that anxiety, and they've labeled their anxiety their alcoholism. So they'll say, it's just my addiction, it's my alcoholism making me do this. No, it's not. It's the body having uncomfortable messages that you've used alcoholism as a tool. So we want to empower folks to have everyday tools to start addressing getting further downriver here. Let's address this before it comes this direction. Ooh, I like how I did that. Let's address this before it floats on down the river and looks like this, okay? So the vagus nerve sends this information and measures it and everything, and we want to tell it to sit. We want it to work on our behalf. So remember last time I said cold. Did you guys practice that? Has anybody taken any cold showers? Does anybody need to take cold showers? So cold showers, putting the cold cloth on the face, activates the parasympathetic system, the calming system of the brain. So the autonomic system, the sympathetic is the one that gets jacked up, and the parasympathetic is the one that calms us. So it's been shown that cold activates the vagus nerve. That's why we want good vagal tone. It activates the vagus nerve. It's working for us in good ways. Taking a cold shower. Did anybody practice that? Or taking the cold cloth and putting it on your face, holding your breath while you do it. Or if you're doing it to yourself, if you're feeling activated in some way, putting cold water in the sink and just dipping your face in the cold water for about 5 seconds, doing it like 3 times. They found that that helps with vagal tone. Remember we talked about that? Laughter, we talked about that. Happiness and laughter are natural immune boosters. Laughter stimulates the vagus nerve, so enjoying a good laugh. Those are your 2 homeworks this week. Try the cold shower or the face thing. And when you're laughing, when you're engaging, what does it feel like? How when you're laughing, the freedom that comes with having a good belly laugh, and the healing that comes with a good belly laugh. Let's keep moving forward with our tools today. Here we go. Another remedy is gargling. So remember, the vagus nerve does this. Okay. So for stimulating the vagus nerve is to gargle with water. So just take a water, and you know how to gargle. It stimulates the muscles of the palate, which are fired by the vagus nerve. And if you look at these tools, as we go through these tools, you're going to say, well, these are so simple. They're not, none of them are asking the $1 million question to heal my trauma, because remember our conversations, the $1 million question lives up here. The trauma experience of overwhelm lives back here and is connected to the body. So we want to get to where the body's having the overwhelm. Gargling, simple gargling. Next one, positive social relationships. Positive social relationships. A study had participants, listen to this, think compassionately about others while silently repeating positive phrases about friends and family. So when I think about my wife and kids at home right now, Carminda's like, she's the kindest person I've ever known, and I can't believe she begged me to marry her. My kids, Gracie's so gentle and kind. Parks is so full of fire and life. And Jack is subtle and intelligent. And when I think about them in these ways, so think compassionately and then repeating positive phrases. I said them out loud, but you can repeating positive phrases quietly, silently. Now listen to this. Just by doing that, compared to, so they had the study group, they had one group do it and the other group not do it. You just do whatever you do, and you do what we want you to do as far as thinking compassionately and good things about those around you. These folks showed an overall increase in positive emotions like serenity, joy, hope after completing the class, which is great, but I wanted to know, you know me, I like to know the physiology. So these folks, the positive thoughts of others led to an improvement in vagal function and improved heart rate variability. You remember when we talked about heart rate variability? Just a quick jump back to that for a second. The heart rates have different tempos. Each one, they're not exactly the same. And it was found that those who have higher variability in those tempos, boom, 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 and the ones that have longer pauses, the more the variability there is, the better the health outcomes. The better the mental health outcomes, the better the physical health outcomes. So you want to create heart rate variability. You remember us talking about that? So I'll say this again. This compassionate, positive thoughts of others led to improvement in vagal function as seen in heart rate variability. The results also showed a more toned vagus nerve than when simply just sitting quietly. So what does that say for us? Remember, one of the jobs of the vagus is kind of measuring the environment. Are things safe? Are things safe for us? And if you can sit and quietly of the people in your home, if they are safe, or your teachers or your counselors, the good things about them, and really focusing on those good things about them, you can actually change your vagus nerve. Can you believe that? You can create heart rate variability. That's unbelievable. Internal tools for internal events. That's what I want for us. I'll say that again. Internal tools for internal events. If I have the capacity to do these things, I'll have less need for an external tool, because I'm mediating my sense of overwhelm on my own. So I won't need to drink, smoke, hit, use, eat, sex. I won't have to do all these things that we've used as tools, external tools for overwhelm. We're developing internal tools. And if you remember way at the beginning, that's what I talked about, is we're gonna talk about developing internal tools for internal events. Come on. I'm excited today. Okay. Another one, singing and chanting. Humming, chanting, hymn singing, upbeat, energetic singing, all increase heart rate variability in slightly different ways. Essentially, singing is like initiating a vagal pump, sending out relaxing waves. Singing at the top of your lungs works the muscles in the back of the throat to activate the vagus nerve. Singing in unison, which is done like at the drum in ceremony, also increases heart rate variability and vagal function. Let me pause there for a second. Think about, remember that guy from Aerosmith? He's on like one of those shows now. He always seems like he's in a good mood, and he sings really loud. I've done the math on that. I think that's what it is. That or drugs. I think it could be the 70s were very kind to him. Singing has been found to, listen to this, good people. Singing has been found to increase oxytocin. Are you ready? Singing has been found to increase oxytocin, also known as the love hormone. Come on. Because it makes people feel closer to one another. So remember at camp when people sing Kumbaya? That's what that was all about. Just try singing. I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm a huge rock star. Humongous. I get to sing a lot. And I was just at the studio yesterday doing some singing. And I always feel good after I sing. I thought maybe I just enjoy singing. But come to find out, it has very specific physiological functions. Then, you know, when you want to feel better, you crank up the radio and you sing along. Next one, massage. You can stimulate your vagus nerve by massaging your feet and your neck along the carotid sinus. Here you go. Not too hard. Let me make it call it not too hard, because that'll knock you out. But just gently like this. Are you doing it now? That's on either side of your neck. And neck massage can help reduce seizures. A foot massage can lower your heart rate and blood pressure. These activate the vagus nerves. One of the things that just to stop and massage for a second, one of the interesting things about massage, it can be an allied tool for trauma work. If a person has skills and is trained in trauma massage, because many traumas in our communities are around abuses, which have violations of the body. And do you remember the numbing, one of the four horsemen of trauma, the numbing, reconnecting the mind and the body again? So there's a couple that I work with that will just start with the feet. And some people I think this is fascinating, didn't know that the person doing the massage was touching their feet. They didn't know it. So they just had to lay the hands and just kind of place them there. and develop sensation. And then, so you can imagine the pace of those massages if the first step is just to have sensation back in the feet and recognizing that this is a safe way to be. It's because the body had all these scary messages, and it takes the right person to do it, but I am down with the value of that.
Dr. Darryl?
Yes.
This is Priscilla Nez. Thank you for sharing. Is that because of the fact that because of their trauma that they've experienced, that they've disassociated their mind to their body? Is that why that they're not able to recognize that when a person's touching them?
Yeah, so one of the four horsemen of trauma, and they could experience any of them, is numbing. And so it's not a conscious, and you know about dissociation, then it's not a conscious behavior. I can't sit here and say, I think I'm gonna dissociate for a while. That happens way back here in the brain. So this here is the sensation center of the brain. So this gets all the enteric nervous system information and says, here's what I've got down here. But we are our brain, we are our midbrains and lower brains. So the research by Vanderkolk and Peter Levine has found that the disconnect. So if I'm going to have sensation here, it would be overwhelming. So this part of our brain does us a favor by saying, well, let's just cut off that sensation base. Let me not give you feeling there anymore. So it's not a conscious choice. It's their brain saying, let me do something to help you survive this. And so part of the healing process is, well, let's re-engage that with the body. So yes, it's a form of, I guess, physical dissociation, because you can have psychological. So maybe physical dissociation, which is a involuntary activity in the body. Good question. Okay, so yeah, that actually, thank you for bringing that up, because that tees us back to the when we talked about the four horsemen of trauma, that numbing was one of the four horsemen of trauma, and it's your body thing is doing you a favor. And like I said back then, when you first talked about that, was I now ask folks if they can feel their feet, if they have numb locations on their body, and like I said, probably a third will say they have a numb location on their body. They'll be surprised that I asked that. Next one, for our simple internal tools, things you can do in your living room, in your house, with your clients, with your patients, with yourself. Yoga. And I've shared with you guys before, when I first started hearing about yoga, I was like, shut up. Can't be stretching, cannot heal trauma. But I was kind of dumb about it, to be honest with you. And I can admit to you, since we're all friends now after 7 weeks, that I was dumb about it. I was ignorant. That's what I was. Yoga increases vagus nerve activity. That's what we're looking for, vagal tone. And activates the parasympathetic. So remember, sympathetic, parasympathetic, activates the parasympathetic system. And yoga increases GABA, which is that long of a word in the brain, but it's a calming neurotransmitter. It's so the breathing, the sustained motion, the getting to know what the body is doing, what the body feels like, how the activity crosses the midbrain, all of this combined with, and the research says, really focus on the breathing ones, particularly the exhale. That GABA, G-A-B-A, that calming neurotransmitter is increased when we're doing this. Researchers believe it does this by stimulating the vagal afferent fibers, which increase activity in the parasympathetic system. And by doing that is particularly helpful for those who have anxiety or depression. And I don't know, and let me just make a qualifying statement. Yoga doesn't have to be me making a pretzel of myself on the floor, because that would just be ugly. You can do yoga in your chairs. That's one of the things I recommend for schools is starting their day with some simple chair poses that could fall under the umbrella of yoga. But really, it's about getting to know the body, calming the body, and breathing things down. And there are plenty of yoga websites for kids, for simple home yoga. Like I said, my wife is certified in children's yoga. And so she goes to some schools with me and she does really simple poses that, honestly, I'm very impressed with the effect that it has. So if you're into it, just give it a shot. Any of these things, just give it a shot. The breathing deeply and slowly. You remember my flute playing? What I call flute breathing. When I was at the studio yesterday, I had to do a couple of flute songs by request. So flute breathing, and remember, I love using this as a device so you can just remember it. When I play my flute, I don't blow, I just breathe into it. Remember, it measures the baroreceptors, measure the blood pressure, and transmit that to the brain. Do you remember that? And that activates the vagus nerve, which connects to your heart to lower your blood pressure and heart rate. That acetylcholine is released, lowers your heart rate. Slow breathing, the best research I've seen on it is 3 counts in, doesn't have to be seconds, just counts. Pause, and 7 counts out. As long as the exhale is twice as long as the inhale, you want to do it 6 to 7 times. That has been shown, that simple thing has been shown to increase vagal tone. I think it's the most portable and simple tool you have in your toolbox. We teach ourselves to do it well. We teach our community, our kids, to do it well. Exercise increases your brain's growth hormone, supports your brain's mitochondria, and helps reverse cognitive decline. But it's also been shown to stimulate the vagus nerve, exercise, which leads to beneficial brain and mental health effects. Mild exercise also stimulates gut flow, which is mediated by the vagus nerve. A simple walk. Although I'm not sure what the temperature there is. Let me check it out. I'm sure it's very cold there right now. So bundling up. Hold on. I have Mission right here. 7. Is this 7 in Mission? Simple exercise. And I've shared this with you that it affects setting an exercise goal and then achieving the goal helps with all the mitochondria, and the goal itself helps the reward functions in the brain, meeting that goal. And it's so simple. Look at everything I've said so far is so simple. It's the body helping the body. There you go. One of the, and I'm a psychologist, so one of the things I've learned about psychology is if I focus just on the mind, just of the thought processes, I've missed the entire system. I've missed how the body, the gut, the breathing, the behavior all contributes to this. The mind's part of it, as you can see when we think about others around us, but when I just focused on that, I was missing a lot of the system. And so part of the healing process is looking at the whole system and how the body behaves and how one thing affects another, affects another, affects another. Trauma isn't a psychological event, it's a physiological event. It can become a cellular event. So let's meet it where it is so we can knock it out. Relaxing. Whoo. Learning how to chill may be the #1 thing to keep your vagus nerve toned. According to Hoffman, most relaxing activities will stimulate the vagus nerve. One of the things that I talked about today with the group, that the family and the kids, was be sure to focus on self-care as well. Make sure you're sleeping, make sure you're eating and still drinking water, and it's hard during grieving times, but we have to help the body help us. Between us, we have to have the body help us. And I don't know about you guys, but I just learned to relax in the past year and a half. I was like that. I was a poodle on caffeine, and I probably drove my family nuts because I was because in my mind I always think our days are limited. We only have so many days in our life, and I wanted to fit as much in every day as I could. But my wife Carminda, I was probably driving her nuts. She said, Darryl, you need to just do nothing for a little bit. And so now, every day, like I'll go home from here, and I'll say I'm gonna go upstairs and do nothing, and I'll just go there and lay in bed. When I first started, I mean, I had to count 1, 2, do nothing, do nothing, do nothing. Then I was really focusing on doing nothing. Then I was doing something. So I had to focus on just breathing. And I have to tell you, it's really been a good habit to develop that. Even if it's just a short amount of time to let your body recover during the day. Finding a sense of peace during the day. Not just peace here, but peace, letting my body feel still. And then I started to train myself on what does my body feel like when it is still? And try it sometime. Just lay in bed and just attune to the body, and do your hands tingle? How hard does your heart beat when you're just laying there? How deep do your breaths feel? Get to know your body, because the sympathetic system and the parasympathetic system are saying, all right, now we're getting a baseline. Now we're getting some points to measure from. So when you're doing your deep breathing, when you're out in the community, I know what relaxation feels like. And I see what you're trying to do. So it helps your body help you. But if you never give it that baseline, if you're perpetually that poodle on steroids, doing it like this, it doesn't have a baseline. It thinks this is how the world is. And it's hard to heal over here. So here's my sympathetic and here's my parasympathetic. What trauma does is it freezes it over here. And so it never fully knows this part over here. So part of what we want to do, and we'll talk about this when we get to Peter Levine's work, is we want to pendulate. We want to teach the body this. And we'll practice a lot of pendulation stuff. We want to teach it how to move fluidly. Because over here, the whole system is still jacked up. And over here is my chronic illnesses, because the body's not supposed to be over here in a sustained way. It's supposed to be here. Calm alertness is where it should be. But if it's stuck over here due to traumas and PTSDs and things like this, to be alert. But that leads to our disparate cases of diabetes and cancers and autoimmune diseases and arthritis and lupus. Not to mention the addictions that we use to try to make those things feel better. So train the body. So when I say relax, it's more than just a good idea. There's so much physiological functioning going on, and I wanted to fill that in, because when I say relax, that telling somebody to calm down is very different than teaching them how to be calm. So when I say just relax, what does that even mean? It means let your body, let the parasympathetic bring you a sense of peace, and teach it that so you have a good baseline. Whoo! I love this slide. So when we're developing vagal tone, as vagal tone develops, we use others to feel safe. And I've said this to this group before. Our kids borrow our safety. Our communities borrow our sense of safety. And kids pick up on it. They know who the safe people are. If you go into a school and kids just drape on you because they know that you are safe. And maybe they don't have a whole lot of safety in their lives. And so they just hang. And I know personally, when I've gone to schools on different reservations, I go back, I come home, or I go to the hotel if I'm in the Dakotas or Arizona. I go home to the hotel exhausted. And I don't want to sound fluffy or anything, but I pick up a lot of that. And so I have to do the things that bring myself back to wellness, to peace, to take care of myself. Listen to this. The neural pathway for healing overlaps with the neural pathway for social engagement. The neural pathway for healing overlaps with the neural pathway for social engagement. We suffer in silos, we heal in community. This is a vagal pathway that conveys information from the brain to the periphery. It's signaling safety to your body and calming you down. So when I say we borrow others' safety, healing isn't in the most powerful individual. Healing is in the most powerful community, the most powerful group. When we learn that from nature, from a beehive to a wolf pack, that the healing, the safety is done in community. I'm gonna say this again because I love it. The neural pathway for healing overlaps with the neural pathway for social engagement. We suffer in silos, we heal in community. Come on. Come on. So that process is called neuroception. Neuroception. And that's a term coined by Stephen Porges, the guy who's done so much work in vagal work. Neuroception, the process through which the nervous system evaluates risk without requiring awareness. Let me pause on that sentence there. Neuroception is the process through which the nervous system evaluates risk without requiring awareness. So it's taking care of you, and you don't even know that it is taking care of you. It's scanning your environment. Remember, like probably our second session, we're aware of only like 40 different things. But the survival centers of our brain and body are aware of millions of different things every second of our lives. So it's aware of all these different things. And neuroception is what that's called for the vagus nerve in Porges's work. So it's the brain evaluating the cues for safety, danger, life threat. So when I look at you, are your pupils dilated? And that's something that I can't tell. I can't tell if the muscles on your face when we're doing this, unless they become really obvious. Unless you're just getting really stank, then it does that. Or your face change color. But what the vagus nerve does is in these nuances, it recognizes, is this person safe? Is this person safe? Is this person safe? To keep you safe. That's called neuroception in Porges's work. Okay, so here's a couple tools. Then we'll be done already. Oh my goodness. This has gone by fast today. To create vagal tone.
Darryl?
Yeah.
Who would you recommend that does a lot of neuroception within Native communities?
As far as the research, I don't know anybody that's doing that type of research in the Native community. The text where it's all based on is, the best one is the Pocket Guide to Polyvagal Theory. The Pocket Guide to Polyvagal Theory by Stephen Porges. Porges. I think it's Phen.
Porgus?
Ges. I might have it right here. Hold on a second. What a nerd. I have it in arm's length here. By Stephen Porges. Okay? I love this book. It's be sure to get the pocket guide. It's about this, it's this thick, so don't get the thick one. This one here. Okay. Love that book. And there's it's so the first part of it is just walking us through the work, and then the second part is really an interview with him, and then tools. So actually, a lot of these are the tools from the text. Another one is putting a tool, putting a thumb in your mouth like this and doing this. And when you're giving birth, they call it bearing down. Blowing hard creates an intra-abdominal and intrathoracic pressure inside your body and stimulates the vagus nerve, which slows, and it looks like this. Really tensing everything in your body. That's what Steph Curry for the Warriors. Watch him in a huddle sometimes. He'll do this, like that. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, because in a high pressure situation, when your heart's beating fast and you feel like I need to regulate this, just 5 seconds of hulking out. And that's what I tell kids, it's hulking out. So I'll have them do like a T-Rex arms when I'm working with kids. So their arms and their leg like that. And then I'll have to go waist to neck, and I'll have them hulk out. And then I'll have them relax. And I'll have them do the neck up, pushing their face into their nose. Like that. So the whole thing is not very attractive. I don't know if I want to record it for posterity, because you're going to pause it and then make it your screensaver. The name of the author, I think somebody asked, is Stephen Porges. Oh, let me do this again. And that's the name of the book. Awesome little text. I love it. Okay. So this here is a modified version of what used to be called the Valsalva maneuver, where you just close your mouth and pinch your nose. But people's ears popped when they did this, so blowing in the thumb like that, the ears don't pop as much. Try it sometime when you're feeling stressed. Try any of these. I just encourage you to not have these just be fun conversations we have on Tuesday nights. That I've looked at the research, I've tried it myself, I've tried it with patients, I've tried it on my kids, for crying out loud, and I wouldn't steer you the wrong direction. So just try any of these things. Let's see what else got here. The Mayo Clinic states that the stimulation of the vagus nerve can soothe depression, anxiety, and even migraine pain. I think the next horizon, we were introduced 10, 15, 20 years ago to all the research on how the body bears the burden, how the body keeps score, and understanding how that affects cognitive functioning when it comes to stress and traumas. And polyvagal is fitting right in with that and understanding that. So the tee up for our next meeting, we're going to start talking about more of how this information gets transferred, translated, transposed to the brain. And we're gonna start diving into Peter Levine's work. Let me show you a couple of texts here. I've mentioned trauma-proofing our kids previously. Peter Levine. Trauma-proofing our kids, your kids. Peter Levine. And this book right here, my friends, was the game changer for me. Trauma Through a Child's Eyes. Again, by Levine. Maggie Klein. That was the game changer for me. It changed how I understood. Go ahead.
Between the two books, which one would you recommend the most?
It depends your purpose. This is textbook, more like a textbook.
Okay.
And this is more, this one, and he's got another one called Waking the Tiger.
Oh, yep.
And so these ones are more for personal, let me have some insight into some of my stuff. And this one is more textbooky that has a lot of really good tools in it. So it depends really where you are and what you're looking for in your purpose. So the big thing with Levine is pendulation. And I just want to tee it up today to get us excited so you'll come back next week. Pendulation is, let me use my little tool here. So here's the autonomic system basically, and here's the sympathetic and the get me jacked up, and here's the parasympathetic system. And what in Levine's work, he talks about how the necessity to create fluidity between these things here, and how accessing the sensory center of the brain, the sensation center of the brain, and having it working in your behalf, and keeping it from getting stuck allows it to come over here toward calm alertness. And the very foundation of that are some tools that we're gonna try here over the next few weeks. Is just how do I start learning? How do I start engaging the language of sensation? And how do I know that it's working in me? And how do I get it working better for me? That's going to be our goals, and we'll keep diving in. We have a few more months of getting together like this. So that's going to be our next study, kind of focusing on that, is Levine's work. We've done, like I said, the COVID. We've done a lot of brain things. And we'll keep visiting the brain and the body stuff. And today we kind of closed out on the vagus nerve, and now we're going to start diving into Peter Levine's stuff.